Yes, I'm Jan from Coolaroo South, and I've just come into Coolaroo South this year as on secondment as part of the leadership team. And Coolaroo South, although very similar to lots of the schools that you would know, and Coolaroo's in the Broady area if you're not quite sure where that is, but a bit different for me. I've come from the inner city, a couple of the slightly easier places to teach in the inner city, different challenges, and then the Leafy Greens for a while out Montmorency Way into Coolaroo South, and been there this year. And so I've only really been involved in the AOZ this year, and we had Ray out to our school, and that's really the only involvement I've had with him. But lots of learning and lots of challenges for me, and I'm enjoying myself even though it's hard. So that's a good thing, I reckon. Just a very little bit of background. A lot of similar schools, as you've all alluded to, very diverse backgrounds and families. Got kids with refugee experience that would curl your hair, and mine was curly to begin with, but maybe I should have gone straight. Preps come to school with little or no English, not literate in their home language, and some of them don't even speak. And I'm sure you've experienced that too. We've got a little boy in prep that still isn't talking to anyone, and he will speak to his friends when you're not looking, but if he sees you come round the corner, the mouth is closed. And how do you rate how he can read? How does the data show you anything about him except that he's now smiling? He produced a little video at home with mum to bring to school to show that he could talk. And so now it's just getting over that. Well, I've been doing this for 4 terms now. How do I show you I can talk in front of adults? So interesting little situations. High SFO, 0.79. Lots, obviously high ESL and high EMA. Ray came out in April. He spoke to everybody, I think, in the community nearly. Teachers, students, the office staff, school counsellors. He brought an assistant out who observed in the classrooms and made sort of copious notes about the things we were saying to kids and their behaviour and what they were saying back to us. He made some recommendations after he met with the leadership team and shared them with staff, and we've looked at those since. And I'll just quickly go through those, and I think they're very similar to what you've seen. The first one was pretty significant, and it's our biggest challenge. It's really about increasing the emphasis on the idea that the need to protect students' rights and kids' rights, students and teachers' rights, is why kids should behave appropriately. This may assist in encouraging students to transfer the appropriate behaviour to situations where their classroom teacher is not present. And this is where we're having the most difficulty. They're okay in the classrooms, in most classrooms. When they go out to art or when the CRT comes in, there is a riot. I pride myself as being pretty good with kids, and I walked into one of the 5-6s, and after I'd been there 3 minutes, I walked out. I thought, I can't do this, what's going on in here? And kids were just virtually, the minute that teacher turned their back, they started to stand up, they started to throw things, they started to shoulder each other, and it didn't matter what I'd said, I hadn't even had a chance to even say anything. That was where the behaviour sort of started. We had to look at that, of course, and it was really about this second part. Classroom teachers can explain their interest in how their class behaves when they're not present as an assessment of how responsible they are rather than obedient. So our kids might be obedient, a lot of them, and we're talking about the group that challenge us, certainly not the whole school, but that group that challenges us, which is in the top end of the school. They can be obedient when restrictions are there or where there is some fear, but they're not responsible. Ray went on to say general need to improve more visual references to rights and responsibilities, which everyone's talked about, hints in the classroom, in the corridors and everywhere. Visual and non-verbal hints, bells, claps, whistles. That went down a bit like a lead balloon, I'd have to say. Avoid the use of rules, that's really dear to my heart. Do we teach kids to obey us? Do we teach kids to be responsible? The more rules we seem to put into place, the less they think, and the less they become reasonable, I believe. Teachers' language needs to be more appropriate. I think he found that in a lot of the rooms, separating the child from the behaviour. And I like you, but when you do this. Another one was some teachers may like to consider using exiting as a form of timeout, whereas the student is asked to return when he or she is prepared to act in a reasonable manner. So giving the child some ownership there. So that's not just when I say, but is there some opportunities where the child can say, I'm ready to come back now. Recognition to the student who misbehaved before exiting them. This next one was interesting. Dependency on rewards should be minimised and should focus on rewarding student effort for personal community behaviour. This one about rewards really opened up a lot of discussion when we talked about it with staff, because we were talking about rewards and I'd have teachers say to me, no, Ray said you don't use rewards. And we said, well, no, that's not really what he said. It's in the schema of things, some kids need those rewards, and the kids that are presenting the most challenge to us are those ones that need to see there is some reason why they should do this if they're not at that stage yet of it being intrinsic. So we've had a lot of discussion about that, and it's sort of come around that rewards are okay. And of course, we're trying to minimise those, and those students that are moving further and further down the continuum don't need them as much. But to think that they don't need them at all is not right. And so that was a good one. And the last one, of course, the important one about curriculum, that we're making sure that the curriculum is relevant, and that so many of these kids, it's the kinesthetic things that they need to be doing and they're not doing enough of. And that was evident in Ray's visit, I'd say. It's certainly evident when I go around the classrooms. So what we've done was we've developed our rights. Now, we've actually turned the rights into 3 rights. The staff wanted to separate the comfortable and safe one into two specific rights, because we feel the second one, which did have the word comfortable in it, was the one where we were getting a lot of anxiety in the yard, in the classroom. Kids were being put down, kids were being spoken about badly, teachers as well when the kids got upset. So the teachers wanted to put them separate. So the top one became the right to feel safe, and the second one became the right to feel good about themselves. We agonised over the language for ages, and some people wanted comfortable and others wanted that, but collectively we decided to go with that one, and everyone has the right to learn. These are displayed everywhere, and in the yard, the safe ones, and the right to feel good about ourselves. So teachers took those after we decided that's what they were. They wanted the consistent language in every space. So we've got those 3 consistent rights everywhere, but they look different, I guess, in all classrooms. We're very fortunate. We've got a poster maker at Coolaroo South. It's housed there for the area. I don't know whether you're in our area and you know that it's there, but it's run out of ink, so bad luck. You do now. And the teachers have spent a lot of time with the kids. Photos are the best way, we feel. Put the kids up on the wall doing those things so they know. There's a couple of examples. There's a prep one. There's a years 3, 4. We are all different, but we all have the same rights. Again, the language is the same: the right to learn, the right to feel safe, the right to feel good about ourselves. And this is a 5, 6 one, and what we did after, of course, looking at the rights is, well, what does it mean? What does it mean in prep to feel safe? What does it mean in 5, 6 to feel safe? So they were unpacked, and so the kids, with the help of their teachers, said, well, the right to learn means this, the right to feel safe means this and looks like this in the classroom, and the same to feel good about themselves. So you can actually go into the classrooms and you can see what the children in that room or that area mean about it. The 1-2s got together. The 3 1-2 teachers got together, all the kids got together, and they talked about them, and they came up with the things collectively that they felt were really important, and they are displayed in all of the 1-2 areas with photos that go with those, which I haven't got. There's a prep one. You're not going to say use an inside voice to a grade 6 boy, I suppose, but you would real preppy. So after we sort of put those around and we were talking the language more in the staff room and in the yard, we devoted a half curriculum day to the behaviour things that we'd been doing. And we've got a kindergarten on site, so the kindergarten staff were also invited in, and all the ES staff were in. And we started by rating student behaviour. And because I'm sort of new-ish to the school, and in April still very new, I was a bit in shock with some of the behaviours that I was seeing and having to pull kids apart in the yard.